So, thank you so much, Radhika, for joining me for this week's Spotlight session. It's so wonderful to connect with you again because we haven't spoken in quite a few months. So I've actually been really excited to hear about what's happened with your business, how things have changed. Obviously, when we worked together, COVID was not a thing. So I feel like everything's changed since then. But before we get into the interview, I would just love it if you could tell people what it is you do and a bit about your business.
Okay, so to put it plainly, I'm a chartered accountant. Not very exciting, but having qualified, I had my own jobs, but then I had my own career path. But around 8 or 9 years ago, I came to join my dad in his chartered accountancy practice, which I'm now running. So that's me today.
We're going to talk all about that today. Yeah. So you're now leading. So you started you had a corporate career, your own pathway, and then you're drawn into the family business.
Yeah.
Was that always the plan? Like, was that always the vision for you?
No. Well, I think it was always my dad's vision. It most certainly was not mine. And I was quite resistant to it, actually. He had to kind of sweet talk me into coming and tell me that once I had kids and once I got older, I would appreciate the flexibility of working for myself, whereas I quite fancied the idea of being, a corporate big gun in the city. So he won.
He won. Okay. So then what was that like? Because you came over with obviously your qualifications and you kind of came into the practice, and we talk about, and I'm sure you remember this analogy when I say about the doer doing everything, the person managing the business, and then the leadership side of things. And when you first came in, you were very much like a pair of hands. Like, you were there, you had your own client base, you were building the practice, you were doing, the accountancy side of things. So how did you find that transition from job to working for your dad to start with? And then I'd love to hear about how you've taken on the reins.
I mean, I found it really difficult at first because I'd come from such a different environment. I used to work for HBOS, which then became Lloyd's. So, a huge PLC where I was one of, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and there would be 30. So, I was used to living, I did most of that in my 20s. So I was used to like a completely different work life where there was drinks after work and loads of colleagues and loads of change. And it was very kind of fluid and things changed quite often, to coming into this little practice where there was kind of 4 of us. And I didn't really know what I was doing because I'd never worked in practice like this before. So it was, to be honest, for about the first year, I didn't really enjoy it, but I don't know. My dad never gave me a client base. He just said, well, if you want to work here, which was his idea, you can build up your own client base yourself. And I was a bit kind of like, well, how am I supposed to do that? Yeah. But I did. Clients would come in and I sometimes didn't really know what I was talking about, but just managed to get people on. And then eventually I just settled into it, just started to enjoy it.
Well, what makes me smile when you said, oh, what is it you do? You go, I'm just a chartered accountant. It makes me smile because I have to laugh because the time I spent with you, I can totally see how you have built up a very strong and loyal base, like a fan base of clients. Like, you are growing exponentially, and we haven't caught up since,
No.
Working together. So I want to hear what's happened through COVID. But even at that time, you're growing exponentially because the way you are with people, the way you build rapport with people, you're just so not a chartered accountant. And that's really me being generalizing of what I think, that kind of suit accountant person is going to be. But you're just so personable and real. I can totally see why people come and work with you, and why I had to smile when you labeled yourself as a chartered accountant, because you bring something special to the practice.
Yeah, that's exactly what I didn't want to be, was, even though I've just introduced myself as just a chartered accountant, that's exactly what I didn't want to be. And I think that is why, I think it's natural to me anyway, but my clients are not my friends by any stretch, but we have a very good and friendly relationship with all of our clients. And I think that me not being stuffy helps that, because a lot of people, especially when they've come from another accountant, what they actually don't want is somebody kind of bamboozling them with accountancy talk, which is not very exciting or interesting. So I think that's probably why I have been able to build up a client base from a position of not really ever having worked in practice.
Yeah.
So, you know, I take it as a compliment.
Yeah. Oh no, it's definitely a compliment. Definitely a compliment. Okay, so when we first started working together, I remember I had a conversation, and you were like, "Whoa, I'm at the school gates. I'm doing all the things. I'm working in the business, working with all my clients. My client base is growing so much. My dad wants me to take on more of like the leadership role, and he wants." I don't know whether he was saying he was going to retire or whether you were thinking he was going to. I can't quite remember that concept. So you'll have to remind me, but. It was about how do I do his role and my role and grow the business and my mother role and be the parent and want to double the business. And it was like, help. So can you remember that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just, I think at the time that we spoke, he was making big noises about retiring. Just to put it out there, I don't think he's ever going to retire. He's not here right now, but that's because he's gone to get a haircut. But I mean, he really over the last year has stepped back. And the point in time that I saw you, I think I was just feeling really overwhelmed by it all, largely because the client base was growing. I was just bogged down in everything. I was doing the smallest of silly tasks, to like having to pay people, to like having to forecast things. I don't know. It was just, I had no role. My role was like everything. It was my role.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was when we met. And I needed just somebody to organise my thoughts, I think, was the most important thing.
And I remember, and this is a typical situation where business owners and I talk, it's like, there's that little thing where I'm like, why am I the one doing the filing?
Yes.
Doing the filing. I remember that. And I have other business owners being like, why can't I find that one link? Why is it that I'm doing this one? There's this one tiny thing that is like the trigger of realizing this isn't right.
Yeah.
When I've got to redo all of this stuff, it's not right. And so we started from there, really.
Well, like for me, there's certain things that I find really easy to let go of, really easy. And obviously, I have a team that are there to take work and to do it. But then there's certain things that I just, and I'm sure anyone who owns a business can understand this. There's some things that I don't want to let go. It might be a difficult client who's just a pain in the arse, and I don't want to put that on somebody else. They're quite demanding, or that they've become used to me, and for some reason I'm letting them drive that. And in the last, I think, 2-3 months, I've got like a hit list of people that particularly seem to lean on me, and despite me trying to say, but chat to whoever about this now, won't. And in the last couple of months, because our year end is 30th of April, so in April I like to get all busy and organised, I fired out a few emails saying, from the 1st of May, I will not be dealing with this anymore. You will be, so let's see how that goes.
Yeah. And boundaries was something we had to work quite hard, because you were like in the middle where you were part of the team delivering and doing the work, the client work, but then you were also bridging the gap between taking on the leadership role of your dad, but then some team wanted to go to him for things because that was the corporate role. And so it was kind of like reaffirming
that I was in charge.
Yeah, that you were in charge. And how is that today? Like how is that different now? The dynamics.
Say, actually, I know COVID's been terrible for a lot of people, but actually I think because we all here had to take a step back, as in we all had to kind of start working, we all worked from home for large parts of last year, it actually just changed the dynamic, and it meant that Dad wasn't visible anymore because no one was visible to anybody. And so I was just able to kind of, in some ways it's been quite good that I could just step in and become the leader, as opposed to him always being in the office. Because I think it's hard, if you've been used to one person being in charge the whole time, to suddenly just flip, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Whereas,
for them and for your dad as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in some ways, like that little bit of distance between all of us has helped me to just kind of step in and be in charge. My dad's also really old-fashioned. He would have had everyone coming into the office the entire way through COVID because he does not believe in working from home. He thinks that working from home means that we're all sitting around watching TV. So you know that generation.
Yeah.
Where he would have had everyone in the office the whole time. I remember at the beginning he was like, well, it's just a flu, you know, why can't everybody come in? And I was like, because we're not really supposed to, and we're in a lockdown, and you know, all the things. And so actually that all helped, you know. Then I stepped in and was like, work from home, and we had everything set up already. We weren't kind of behind. So, you know, that helped a lot. And then I think we'd set in place a few things before COVID from my conversations with you as well. Hiring a new person, you know, I won't go into the ins and outs of it, but things to do with who had control over, and who had access to do certain things, and I just had to take it all away.
Yeah, and that's something that we really had to. I mean, you had team members in there, so it's like we first went in, didn't we, and we looked at who's doing what within the business. What's the clarity of your role? What does everyone else think your role is? Because realign, reaffirm that, actually, didn't we? And then it was, okay, well, what are the gaps? And we noticed that there was some more administrative stuff that needed to be removed to free up your time to spend with all these new clients that wanted to like knock at the door and quite literally at that point and come and work with you. And so it was about freeing up your time. And then there was a bit around us like systemizing stuff. So I know there was like a technical piece of software you put in, but then I remember us chatting through like, well, what's the end process of bringing someone else new in? Like, what's the way we standardize, and how do we make every client interaction like this on brand and make it consistent for people? It was about thinking like, well, what are the ways we do business? What do we stand for? And how has that progressed during COVID?
I mean, once we, like you and I, had gone through it all, I then came back to the office, and we just, it was literally about standardizing everything. It was about making checklists. When a new client comes on, this gets done, that gets done. Like, it is literally a checklist with, you know, who's responsible for it. And it's worked, like, it's just worked so well. I think before I spoke to you, I knew everything that needed to be done. I just never actually formalized it in a list, a checklist. And I took somebody else on who is now solely responsible for doing all of that. And she's great. She's always on my case. You know, if we haven't done something, or, you know, if I've missed a step for whatever reason, she hounds me. And then the other thing that was quite good, actually, which is a bit accountancy specific, but anyway, it helped, was that every few years or so we have like a quality assurance visit from my body, who's the ICAW, and that came in, I think, April, or like right in the middle of like the proper full first lockdown. And they wrote to us to say, do you want to defer it? And both Dad and I were like, no, let's just get on with it. Let's just do it now. And actually, a lot of the questions that come up in there are about how you do your procedures. So it just kind of G'd me along to like just get it all ship shape.
Yeah.
So, and they closed the file within 5 minutes of, you know, I had to do all my bits and send it all off. Then we had to have a call with the ICAW, which was terrifying for me because I'd never done it before. And when we got off the phone, my dad was like, well, I've never had anything as good as that. And I was like,
wow, that's amazing. And I remember you saying you don't get praise often from your dad. So that was...
Oh no, that's probably the last time he praised me.
That's incredible.
I mean, normally there'll be some follow-up points. I've seen the previous files, you know, just little things. But he actually closed the file on the call. He was like, that's it. You'll hear from us in about 10 years.
Wow. Because the confidence that they had in your systems and processes and the way you did business, and particularly in your line of work, is so key from a quality perspective. So that's amazing to hear.
Yeah, so that was really good. But I think all the work that we'd done before that, I think if it hadn't been for that, I would have said, oh God, I'm not ready for it. Let's just defer it. But no, you know, when you just want to get it done, then I was like, right, let's just finish this.
So then, okay, so we freed up your time from doing the filing. Yeah. Okay, I'm being facetious, more things, but you know what I mean. You've obviously got some more support in. Appreciate it wasn't as smooth with COVID and everything. I think we understand that. You started systemizing, getting checklists, putting things in place, making sure there was a process. You stepped up more into the leadership role. You reaffirmed everyone's role and who was doing what and responsible for what. How has that impacted your role and time and the way you work now? Because I remember you were working not crazy hours, but more hours than you were wanting to, and school holidays and stuff, and on your phone at Centre Parks. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that too. I don't know. I mean, I think, you know, owning a business means it never quite goes away. And I mean, COVID meant that new client take on did for a while slow down a bit, because no one's starting a business right now. But I've still got work to do, put it that way. I think that the bulk of the work tasks I have now moved away and redistributed, and I am focusing a lot more on the business. But I do think, like, it never goes away, does it? You're always, I'm not always doing the tasks, but I think it's always on my mind. You know, my work-life balance is about a gazillion times better, but I could still work on it.
Yeah. Well, I think we can, and we're mindful that, particularly if you've got like an entrepreneurial brain, then we can free up some time and bing, a new idea or something else pops into it.
There's little things though, like, I think that I need to now get on board with. So I give you, like, this morning, like, the first thing I do in the morning is I wake up and give the dog his breakfast. And while I'm doing that, I'll check my emails. And I need to stop doing that because I had one this morning that gave me the rage. And there was no reason for me to have done that. So I think now, like, the boundary setting now needs to be my own boundary setting, that there's no reason for me to check my emails at 6:30 in the morning while, you know, the dog's having breakfast. I can wait until I get to the office.
Yeah.
I think I need to retrain myself now, because sometimes when you do that, sometimes, you know, that I'm working at Centre Parks, I put my out of office on, but I still checked my emails, and then I'm like, oh, I got this email, I should do it now. But actually, I didn't need to check them, because the person knows I'm out of the office.
Yeah, and boundaries, our own boundaries are so key.
Yeah, that's me.
Like on Easter Friday, Good Friday, I worked for 5 hours because I wanted to. I was like, oh, I wasn't gonna have the boys like put me in the office. I really want to go to work. So it is about having the freedom to choose. But the whole point is you're now realizing and you're changing that you have that choice to dictate responsibility, rather than before the business was dictating that for you, the workload was dictating that for you.
Yeah. I mean, this year, I think if it hadn't been for this past year, I think I would probably be further forward. COVID threw up a whole bunch of extra challenges for clients that, I mean, I think I spent, I don't even know, I wouldn't be able to quantify it, but from about mid-March until about mid-May, I was on the phone practically being a counsellor to a lot of clients. They just wanted to talk. So, you know, I can't bill for that time either. The whole thing just got a little bit delayed, but I've got a bit of a renewed force now because of the, you know, I feel like maybe we're coming out of it and it's time again.
So where do you see the business going 2021, like in terms of growth? I think you were looking at like a 25% turnover growth.
Yeah, so even in the COVID this last year, we've had about 15% turnover growth, which, considering,
most people have gone like that.
Yeah, well, not even that. Like, we always have a delay in billing. So if I take on a client, obviously there's a lag because it takes time for the work to get done. But considering we had not a dip, as in we didn't lose any clients, but we didn't increase our clients at the same rate. I think next year will be, I mean, I've been doing my numbers and we should be well on target for 25% growth. So, you know, now it's more a case of me having to step back because I need to make sure that I'm not taking on too much work, but that we've got the capacity to do it and that I'm ready to move quickly should we require any additional support. Yeah,
and that it's not always you. And this is what a trap, a business.
Yes, it's not me that picks up the slack.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're in firefighter mode the whole time, and you can't to the root cause of why the fire even started and actually investigation, because you're putting the buckets on the fire.
Yeah.
So it's about making sure that happens. And so
yeah, and you know, it's been really nice actually this year. I mean, I only ever get business through referral, because we don't advertise anywhere, and I don't think we ever will. But it's been nice to actually take on business on that basis in such a crap year, basically, for a lot of people, to know that no matter what's going on, people are still kind of happy with what we're doing.
Can I ask you, what advice? So a lot of business owners I speak to, they're like in the same position, in that maybe they have some help, maybe they don't, but they're doing a lot of the stuff themselves. They're in the trenches of the work. They're delivering the service for the clients. They want to spend more time with their family. They sort of feel like this whole push-pull, what's realistic, what's not. I just need to keep earning before I take a step back. What would you say to someone who's in that position, who is scared to like put the foundations in because they just want to focus on delivering to their clients, sales?
I think it's hard, because I think you've just got to look at the long game, because eventually it's not, you can't take everything on. It's impossible. And I think, you know, if your business is doing well and you're continuing to take on more and more and more work, there's going to be a breaking point at some point, isn't there? If you're not willing, you have to address it before you actually burn out, because all that's going to happen is that, you know, your reputation is great, you to bring on all your clients, but then eventually you reach max, and then something's going to give, isn't it? Be it your service to your client is not going to be as good because you haven't got the capacity, or your mental health,
yeah,
you know, which is a big one. But something will give somewhere. So, you know, and I think it's really hard. I mean, I'm a total control freak about, you know, you don't want, you know, when you know that you've built your business on you being good, it's really frightening to actually think that you could take somebody else on and that they'll be able to deliver the same level of service that you can provide, and the reason why people are coming to you.
You have done that. You have done that.
Yes, exactly. And it's also about, your clients need to trust in you, that you would pick the right person, and that the person that you're going to delegate the work to will do the job. You'll always have some people that only want to deal with you. I have that, you know, and I still haven't managed to 100% tackle it. But I think anybody that's in that position right now, just look 6 months to a year down the line, look at the trajectory of clients that are coming on, and think about how much work you're doing right now. Is it even possible? Yeah. Because it probably isn't, unless you start working ridiculous hours, or you know, you don't do as good a job, which is just, it's counterproductive.
Yeah. And so someone who, and again, I hear this a lot, people saying, well, I need another me and they can't replicate me. So what do you think was the key behind being able to get other individuals to deliver your level of service?
I think you don't need another you. I think that's the really important thing. You need another person that complements you. Your clients don't want you, they've got you, you're there. And actually, by freeing up your time to not be bogged down in the nitty-gritty, your clients will actually have more of you, because you'll actually have time. If they say, oh, Rad, can I have a chat about whatever? Instead of being like, oh, I've got to do this and this and this and this and this, and now I haven't got time, you say yes. So they actually have more of you, I think. And if the person that you bring on complements you, you know, sometimes actually, like when I look at the people that I've got around me, they're better because they actually do certain things in a different way, in probably a better way, a more thorough way, whatever it is. Yeah. So if you're trying to replicate yourself, you probably, you don't need to. You just need to find the person that will do the best job and enable you to just continue to be you.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And you think about what we did, like in terms of recognizing what was that role that we needed, where did we within the business, where was there a gap, what tasks would they be doing, how did you find the person, and then the way you systemize things as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously every business is different and people won't be doing the same thing as me, but for me it's been about, because somebody else is doing largely doing the work, it means that I can sit there, you know, I can look at clients, whose year end's coming up, who might just fancy a chat, because my clients do like chatting to me, I think. You know, and doing things like that, in which case you're actually giving them so much more by just, you know, dropping them an email and just saying, hi, how are you? Like, you know, this is coming up, that's coming up. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I've still got, you know, I'm making it sound like I've found all the answers. I haven't.
No, and we're all
the answers. I just haven't put it completely into practice. But in my head, I know where I need to be. I just need to.
And the way I remember getting a goosebump feeling and really emotional when you just, I can't remember exactly the situation, but it was an example where you just stepped up and you just led the business, like, right, I'm owning this now. This is my legacy now. Yeah, Dad, you've done an amazing job, but this next phase is you, and it's for your family, and it's for the people who are working for you. I'm so pleased you've done that.
I think I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like I lost my mojo a bit after having the kids as well. I feel like I let people walk all over me for a little, not walk all over me, but I feel like I lost my something. I think I just wanted to get things done, and I didn't, you know, I let people say things to me. And I think there was a point in time that I spoke to you and through the year where I've had moments where, you know, if clients have spoken to me and I'm just like, actually, no, like, no, I'm not putting up with this. I'm in charge here. And if you don't like that, then
maybe we're not a good fit.
I mean, I tell you what, actually, I don't know who your audience is, but I'm going to guess it's mainly women. It's normally men that do that. And there's nothing more satisfying than putting a man in their place and telling them to piss off. So, and I've just learned, I think I've grown more of a backbone in the last year.
Yeah.
And just stop people, you know, this is my business, and I know that I'm doing a good job for my clients. So, you know, that's it. And I feel like I've bounced back a little bit. I think, you know, after you have kids, you're a bit tired and a bit kind of
yeah, lack of sleep. I love hearing that. Yeah, it is about just owning it and being like, this is my business, these are the rules, this is the way we do things around here. If it's not a great fit for you, find someone else.
Yeah, but actually that's never happened, Skye. I had a, you know, again, a bit accountancy specific, but I had a client who he's like a macho guy. He's very, very handsome, actually, I have to say. But he's, you know, he's like a man who you can tell, like, he expects women to be, you know, probably in front of
falling all over him
and looking after the baby, that kind of a man. And except me, he thinks, you know, he's like, oh no, you know, you're great, but you know, he would never marry me, put it that way. And one day, it wasn't anything that we'd done. He just, essentially, he hadn't watched his turnover and he'd gone over the threshold, which has nothing to do with me because I don't have visibility of what's going on unless I can see it. And he went so mad at me, like really shouting. And I was just like, at first I was like, oh, and you know, when you start sweating and you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I was like, no, hold on a minute. And I properly gave him one back. And he was so shocked. He apologized profusely. And then he said, oh, my mum tells me that I get too angry and that, you know, I always fly off the handle at women. And I was like, we should listen to your mum. Like, you know, we're just here to...
I'm going to retitle this interview being like talking sexy clients, telling off and listening to your mum.
But, you know, I don't know. I just think that in trying to take charge, I had to take charge of myself as well and like how people treat me. And, you know, it could be women as well, but I just, you know, on experience, I tend to find it's not, it's mainly not.
Okay. Well, I know so many people will resonate with that story, and it is about having the backbone and the boundaries and making sure that you do stand your ground on things that are important to you. So good on you. And the fact that you wouldn't have necessarily done that a year ago and now you are.
No, I wouldn't. You know, I would have let him probably speak to me like that, and then I would have gone away and been sad and upset and probably annoyed with myself as well for not standing up for myself. And now, just no, it's not happening anymore.
Good. Well, you truly have gone from like being that doer in the business managing business and leading and taking charge of your own role and your own destiny within the company. And I know this is just the start, and you're going to be many, many years of building this legacy. And I'm sure your dad is ridiculously proud, even if he doesn't tell you all the time. I have one like that as well. But
men, it's men.
Doesn't do emotions. Is there anything else on a final note you wanted to add or feel like we haven't covered that you wanted to say?
No, I just want to also say thank you to you, because I think when we first met, I didn't know what we were going to, I didn't know what I was going to get out of it, but I did. I got out of it. Well, I don't think either of us knew what either of us wanted to get out of it. As in, like, you didn't know what my specific situation was at first. I didn't really know what my specific situation was at first, but I think it was just nice to have somebody to like sound off to, and, you know, completely impartial as well. So somebody there to, you know, just to guide me and guide my thought process and allow me to vent, which I know I did as well. So.
No, that was good, and it was great, yeah, to see you recognize, right, these are the low value tasks. This is what I should be doing. This is the gap then in the team, because this is where the capacity's at. Let's fill that gap. This is what we need to standardize. This is what we need to systemize. This is how I manage upwards to my dad. This is how I manage the team. How do we share the different dynamics? It was all of those complexities, but it boils down to the same thing with every client. What's the structure and the way we work? What are the systems in which we create? And who's the right people I need in the right place? What support? And when you're able to do that, it's owning your own role, going, right, I'm going to lead this business. This is what I'm going to be doing. This is what I'm not going to be doing. And off we go. And that is what you've done.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see the growth you have in the future.
Yeah, hopefully this year will be, well, hopefully for everybody it will be better. I think if we get back to a bit more normality, whatever that is now.
So Radhika, those people who've watched this, who've been inspired that they just want a normal, fun person on their level as an accountant rather than anything stuffy and corporate, how does someone connect with you and come and be a referral and say, please, can we work together? How can they connect with you?
We have a website where I can just give you my number. I don't know.
Perfect. Well, I'll put the website in the links. Remind me of the name. J Patel.
J Patel and Co. Yeah.
J Patel and Co. So, Radhika, it was absolutely wonderful working with you, and I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your journey. And like me, you're also so transparent. It's not that smooth line of success. We have little bumps in the road, but it's keeping going and keep doing this thing. So, well done. I'm going to stop this on Facebook.